Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. And I'm glad that everybody's in here. So, we're going to be talking today about week number 3. And week number 3 is about the introduction and the power of goal setting. But this isn't, we're not talking today about goal setting. Good morning, Alicia. We're not talking, good morning, Farm Girl. Good morning, Brian. Good morning, everybody. So today we're talking about goal setting, which is week 3. Week 3 is going to be in our series, Unlocking My Potential and Becoming the Me I've Always Wanted to Be. So what's interesting, there's kind of a flip on this, because when we think about setting goals in life, setting goals where we're going to lose weight, maybe get a different job, maybe go walking more, changing routines, but today's a little different because we're going to be setting thinking goals. Yeah, that's right. Because the way that we think is habitual, but it also creates emotions, and it also creates, good morning, Alicia and everybody. I'm glad that you're here. So today, the topic is thinking goals. And it's pretty much plain and simple. I got a lot of notes to go over with you. What do I mean by thinking goals? It's how we want to think, because the way that we think creates our emotions. It creates our reality, and it creates the outcome of our day and the outcome of our future. And believe it or not, can help you live a really peaceful, good life. Couple little easy things. We're going to set goals and how you see the change you want to make. So we're going to get into how do you see the change that you want to make. Life's too short not to be yourself. You ever heard of life's too short not to be happy? Well, life's actually really too short not to be yourself, not to be your authentic self that you were made to be. And then thoughts create feelings. My other board has everything on it from last week, because I find that goal setting for thought is something that a lot of people may not have tried, but you can, because we set these goals and we tie them in to routines. And that's what makes goals happen. I'll tell you what. That's right. It's illegal to wear someone else's skin. Everybody is taken, Britzel. That's right. So it's easier to be ourselves and in our thoughts. So I kind of broke down into what I think is about a 1-hour structure for us to talk about different types of goals. And like I said, when you think that, people are going to think it's like a lose weight goal, or goals about money, get better grades if you're a student, or to do better, or to spend more time with family. These are great goals, by the way. But today, we're going to show you how to changing your goals can actually change the way your mind works. So we're going to be talking about thinking goals, the way that we think, a goal that we have that's going to lead us to how we feel about ourselves and change the outcome of our day. You see, the way we know that the way things work is, if you wake up and say, I'm dreading today, I'm going to have a bad day, then most likely you are, because you're going to focus on the negativity and forgetting about what's going right. And the way our day starts is going to really determine how the way our day is going to go. Are we going about our day grateful with thought, making a goal to have a good day through your thinking, not through actions that we're going to take, actual actions, but thought is an action too. So we're going to do a cartwheel is a good day to make your day great. I wish I could still do one. So if you have a way that we all have a story in our head of a change that we tried to make, and we realized that thinking about something differently and going about something differently in thought gave us power, and it helped us overcome a challenge in our life. So we can get into that. So there's two types of goals in simple terms. when we have actual goals, right? There's two different types, and one's an outcome goal, and it's an outcome goal is what I want to have. For example, exercise 3 times a week. I want to study math 30 times a day. I want to reach out to 5 clients each week because I sell for a living. These are outcome goals. These are the outcome of something. And then we have process goals. A process is something that we're gonna put into a process. We're gonna create a process to change it, and that means that we're gonna tie those into some type of routine. Um, but we can also do mindset goals, and it's how we want to think. And this is what today's about. Whether it's 2, 5, 8, 12 types of goals, I'm not sure, but we're going to be talking about process goals through journaling and process goals through being mindful and staying within our mindset and being kind to ourselves. So a thinking mindset goal and how I want to think, and I got some examples of this. One is when I make a mistake, I try to see what I can learn, not just blame myself. See, these are thinking processes and goals where we can find some fault in the way that we think. When we were talking about last week, we were talking about triggers, remember, and our mindset and what happens. It's still over here on the board to pause. If you don't see it, don't be it. Those types of things. So these goals that we're talking about today are all about our thought. Another one, when things go wrong, I ask, what is one thing that's still in my control? So when something goes bad, what do you still have control of? This is all mindset, thought process goals that we have. I talk to myself like I would talk to a good friend. And that's really important, the way that we talk to ourselves. Sometimes we beat ourselves up. When we give our friends or people criticism that we care about, that we sometimes carry our mind. This is all about, and what are we supposed to learn from the situation? These are all good things, Farm Girl. That's great. So being aware of our thought process and turning it into patterns and using the what I want and the process method, which are the 2 ways to do the goals. There's also the SMART goals, the specific, measurable, attainable, whatever it is. We taught that in one class that we had on a 12-week thing. I should remember that, but we can only handle so much stuff in here at a time. So you could say that the outcome goals are about results and the process goals are about actions, right? So we're going to have results and actions when we're thinking about the goals we're going to set in our lives for our thinking. And these goals aren't about material things. They're not about anything. They're about how we feel in our thinking process, to have a goal of how I would like to think, how I want to wake up, how I want to start my day, and how I'm going to have a rested mind at night. This is a way of living type of goal that what you're going to get out of it is a process that's mental, that'll help you after work when you're overwhelmed. You can catch that. That's what we're going for here. We're trying to catch the curveball in life every time and knock it out of the park, right? We don't want to have life having control of our emotions. And therefore, we're going to have a goal that basically has nothing to do with other than our thought and our thinking and our mindset goals. So the outcome of this is going to be about the results. And the results, we don't even have to explain them. The results are going to be lesser inner critic, being more open to looking at where we have control and where we don't have control. And the process are about actions, right? Actions. What we have to do to get this outcome. the actions that we have to do. So the actions is we're going to be mindful of our thought and our thought progress. So thinking goals are about the person you are becoming, not the person that you are. So share a goal you're working on. I like that. Share a goal that you're working on. More peace in the process is what it's about. I'm telling you, in life, on a side note here, peace is just within yourself, and keeping the peace is the trick. It's kind of like we're talking today about mindset and mindset goals, right? And mindset goals are the ways that we want to think, and that is to protect our peace, right? So if you think that you've ever set a goal, got excited, and then stopped after a while, like you had a goal and then all of a sudden it stopped. You worked on it and you put it out on it. You just didn't do any good. What you would do is you would just laugh at it a bit, right? Because it only changed our actions for a little while, and we may not have seen results, or it took in, or we didn't tie it into a routine. When we want to learn something, and when we want to change our behavior, when we want to change our mindset, we want to change our work style and this and that, we have to tie it into something we already recognize. And this is where journaling comes in, where we're going to recognize a place to fit the new shoe in, right? To fit it in, to have the time. People think that it's easy, but it's not. It's something that we put effort in, and you have to put the effort in where it's going to fit in, where you have the time to do it. So when you come up with your new goal and your thinking goals, you're going to make thinking goals clear and concrete of how you want your thought to be, of where you want to be on the thinking. And introduce to yourself the fact, especially today, right now, talking about this, that your thoughts create your feelings. They also create your drive, your actions, and that creates results in your life. And it creates the way that you're thinking, which means it's creating the way that you're feeling, the feeling about yourself, the feeling about your abilities. The feeling is about what you may or may not get done today. Maybe some of your feelings are paralyzing you because of fears you get, because you can't overcome it. And some of this is just really in our minds. So our first goal that we want to make are some awareness goals. These are some of the goals that I kind of came up with when I was writing this up, and then looking at some of the things where I wanted to change my goals and what happened. So some of it is just some personal experience. So the awareness goals are noticing your thoughts, noticing them. What are you repetitively thinking about? What are you carrying in your mind that you know that may not be healthy, that's really not getting you to where you need to be? Are you constantly scanning for fear? Do you still have a little anger down in you that you're trying to figure out? Are there wounds that you're covering up? Are you avoiding some things? And it's okay. But what I try to do is I try to every day notice at least one negative thought I have about myself, and I do write those down. I do write some of them down. And where I find a lot, like for me, is that I let certain things trigger me. And I'm starting to realize that it's because of some perfection that I have, being a perfectionist, that I now relate to being a child, to where I was told I sweep like an old lady, I move like an old lady, I do this and that. Some criticism that I had in my growth, in my growing up, that I still carry today, where nothing's going to be good enough, quick enough, and be done good enough. But it probably always has been done that way. I probably always have been good with results, right? But this is something that I'm dealing with. This is a problem of mine. So when somebody does something that's not basically their problem, it is a trigger where I notice in other people that makes me, and that is catching the thought. That's catching a thought, and the goal would be to change our thoughts, right? So to change our thoughts. When we have something go wrong and we look at everything and the challenges, whether you're a person in power, look, for example, if a job goes wrong in my company, right? That's right. Plays on a thought loop, man. And we have to realize that big time, Alicia. I love it. So when something goes wrong at a construction job, I can say, well, it's this contractor's fault, that contractor's fault, and it very well could be. But at the end of the day, being the manager of it, that would have allowed something to happen. So to look out and to scan our environment and our jobs, if we have people that work for us, we're in charge of their management and their outcome, right? So it's through thought process. Thought process is the key to living a successful, peaceful life where you have peace that you own because you're seeking it within yourself, right? So you can't change what you don't notice. That's why awareness is the first step. So if you don't notice it, you can't change it. And if you can't see it, you can't be it. This is what's really important. And then for me to have to say, Farm Girl, I'm glad you're here. You can't change what you don't notice. Awareness is the first step. So today, to talk about setting goals to change our thought goals, it's about awareness. The goal of awareness of what I'm thinking every day, the same thing. Talking about my life to go back into my perfection from some of the abuse that I had about moving like an old lady. You're too slow. You're not good enough. You're not fast enough. These are things that I heard when I was being upbred, and it turned me into a perfectionist. I had to work extra hard. I had to constantly be moving. I couldn't be a country club or someone that laid around that did nothing. I had to move my body. And that stuck with me so hard. And it gave bad thought, and some verbal abuse out of my mouth when I would get extremely angry. So if you can't see it and you can't notice it, you're not going to change it. And this is where the information that you had to give yourself on the goal setting today, and we're talking about thinking goals only. Forget everything else in your life, because thinking goals is a good place to start. So we're going to notice at least one negative thought about ourselves every day. We're going to write it down. When I feel stressed, I pause and ask, what am I thinking about right now? This is catching ourselves. This is noticing, because you're not going to change it if you don't notice it. Awareness in your life is the first step about what you need to change in your life. Good morning, Norma G. Reframing your story, right? And so if you're going to reframe your story, you're going to reframe the way that you think. It's going to take awareness. This is where my problem is. This is why I judge other people. I fear seeing these things in my life because I would like to become that. So embrace our fear, embrace where we notice where we want to be, and embrace love for people. Most importantly, yourself, right? So changing the story. These are about turning unhelpful thoughts into more useful ones. So some of our unhelpful thoughts, when we recognize them in our life, we want to turn them to be more useful. Man, sometimes I feel like I'm down and out and have nowhere to go, and I have no peace in my life. I'm sick and tired of my phone and texts and computer and emails and fucking everything. Can I just get a break for myself? Can I just get a moment of time just for me that's about me and not about somebody? These are signs that your thinking goals need to be changed. You need to be aware of where that comes from. Can you wake up earlier? Can you spend more time by yourself? And can you explain and give that to somebody? We have to give ourselves a break. We have to give ourselves. And these are going to be about turning unhelpful thoughts into more useful ones. For example, I can't do this can be, I can't do this yet, but I want to learn. I'm going to learn how to do this. I'm going to learn how to deal with my emotions and thoughts. That's something to say in the morning with your prayers. And you can ask right from the higher powers, please help me. I don't know what I'm doing. And even in prayer, I don't know what I'm doing. But if you can just help me realize that my thoughts need to change and I want to have good thoughts. And you keep doing this and turning these helpful, bad thoughts into good ones, right? And instead of I've always failed, try to learn something that'll help me next time from my failures where I didn't do so well or I think I didn't do. You might have failed because it wasn't your time yet. So we're on a course in life. And when you recognize that we're on a course in life, you're going to realize you can't be on cruise control. But what you can do is you can put effort in to the efficiency of our mind to get to a peaceful place quicker. And the goals that we're going to get into, where we started with the everyday goals today, awareness goals, noticing your thoughts, right? Of being aware. If you're not aware of them, you're not going to change them. Then we talked about reframing, changing your story, right? And this Friday, I'll have a matrix of some of these things. A lot of this I wrote up in the last couple of days because I was trying to get a good podcast in this morning. So self-talk goals, this is important. Here we're going to go to number 3. I talk to myself. I will talk to myself like I do a close friend. These are goals too. We want self-talk goals of how you speak to yourself. These are those private conversations that you're having with yourself. And the goals that we're setting, that these are going to be affirmations and things that where you are trying, where you are doing, where we're thinking about, we're not talking about failing. I didn't quite get this yet, but I'm going to get it down. It didn't quite go my way, but it will next time. The way we talk to ourselves. These are doubts. We put it right, like, I will never get this right. Watching our wording in our head, the words never or always, they're just bad. Like there's always going to be weather on Earth. That's a good one. The sun's always going to rise. Not, I'm always going to get this wrong. I'm always going to feel this way. I'm trapped and imprisoned in this mind that I have no control over. So when we change this thought, and realizing that time is of the essence because we need to live some of our days happiness. When I make a mistake, I'll say it's okay because I'm learning, right? What if we had some of the mental thoughts and give up as adults if we did when we were kids before we can even speak of never got up again because we fell down, right? So if we spoke to our friends the way we speak to ourselves, how many friends would you have? Right? And if you spoke to your family the way you speak to yourself, how often would your family come around? Right? So let's set goals about kinder, stronger self-talk. Getting right in today about these goals are going to be wrapped around into your head, setting goals about the way we define ourselves, the way that we see ourselves, and when we reflect, finding things that we don't see to be aware that we know we need to change. Remember last week we were talking about triggers, and triggers create emotions, thoughts create emotions, but we're thinking and feeling anything repetitive that's negative, that's not pushing us forward in life would be a bad thought. That is something that we don't want to, there's ways to carry the weight with good thought. I got this. This is going to happen. And I'm going to give myself a break. And I'm going to put time in there for me. I'm going to put time in there for me, right? So let's look at it this way. We go out for a good supper. Everything was fantastic. They give you the bill, and you give the person that helped you that was there a little bit of extra credit as a tip. It's time today to tip ourselves, right? It's time to give ourselves gratuity because we're going to realize how to go forward with mindset goals, right? So every day, you're going to start writing down 3 things that went well. This is how it starts. in a routine. Now, how many times a day do you text? On your phone, you have notes, right? I'm going to share something with you. So this is notes on my phone that go back and back and back. I think 6-8 years. So these are little notes and text that you do. These are just to yourself. Text to me. Text to me. It goes on. So 3 times a day, what went well? What went right today? And before you sleep, you're going to ask, what's the one thing I'm grateful for today? And then doing this in the morning, doing this in the evening of what went right. And try to ignore what goes wrong. Just ignore it. And what goes wrong sometimes fixes itself, sometimes it doesn't fix itself. So whatever you train your brain to look for is what you'll see more of. It's just a fact. So this is the goal of changing our mind, of being our intentional self, and not just setting our goals, but seeing them come to light. When you set thinking goals, you see them come to light. Just be on your porch one day, walking out or having a tea or a coffee, all of a sudden be like, shit, I have a moment of happiness. Because of me, because I can feel a little bit of life. This is really helping me out. Me spending time on my thought pattern and my thought process is what I needed. It wasn't that I needed more chocolate or more movies or more binge watching or walking, a lot of these things in my life. What I needed was just to give myself gratuity. And the gratuity was, at the end of the day, what went right, what I'm grateful for, what's going right. Because when you're focusing on the right, you're going to recognize more of it. And even on your worst day, you can say, it's going to be a good day today, and I'm still going to be able to get through it. Right? So turning old goals into thinking goals. Thinking goals. It's all about your mind when we're setting these goals. So whatever you train your brain to look for, it's going to start looking for more of it. That's right here. And if you only look for problems, you're only going to find problems. If you think that you're living problems all the time, then you're always going to have problems all the time. It's that simple. You are what you're thinking. You're a processing machine. Your mind is a processing, tricky machine. If you always find yourself in the same patterns, the same nervous system, because thoughts and feelings, they also create emotions, and the way that you feel and anxiety, if you find yourself in that, it's because of what you're thinking. It's because of what you're doing. It's what you're used to, and that's your comfort zone, believe it or not. You might think, well, I'm miserable being anxious. I'm miserable getting upset. Of course we are, but we have to recognize and be aware of what's causing it so we can fix it, so we can start changing our mindset. So we can change our mindset. And so our goal is going to be to make it practical and personal. All about being practical and personal today. Practical and personal just for ourselves to change our mindset so we're not in routine moods. We're not having life happening to us. We're living life, and we're mentally mindful of the thought process that we're going to have no matter what comes on. No matter what happens. So we're going to get a little personal. So if you have the time right now, go ahead and take out a piece of paper or your phone notes. Okay, just if you can, if you have it, write down. If you can go to your notes, write down a goal you have right now. It doesn't matter the goal, and it can be about health, money, school, work, or relationships. And then you want to do one process goal, add it to a process, and then add it one thinking goal. So, and the reason why we're going to do this is I'll do it. We'll just do one goal. So for me, I'll lose, I don't mind, I guess, lose 10 pounds. Lose 10 pounds before Memorial Day. Impossible, probably. But let's just say that's what it's going to be, right? And then what we're going to do is a process would be for me to go to the gym, ride a bike, go for a walk. Those are the processes that this particular goal is going to take, right? And the outcome is going to be that I lose 10 pounds through this process. But the thinking goal is when I miss a day, I don't quit. I just restart the next day. I see exercise as a gift to my future and myself, not a punishment. And this is why in any type of goal, and while we're talking about thinking goals, is our thinking sometimes goes away in our goals. But when we're setting goals just for thinking, to be kinder to ourselves, to have more awareness, the outcome is for peace, and the process is like I was talking about. The outcome of lose 10 pounds is we're going to lose 10 pounds. The process is the 30 minutes and how we're going to do it, right? But if you don't have the thinking in there and you don't have control over your mind, I can't do this, I didn't happen. See, what you're going to do is rewrite goals and just have them as a thinking goal and your mindset goal, right? So it's great to notice that your thinking goals help you stay in the mental game, right? Through processes and through outcomes. So I want to change my thinking for what outcome, to be kinder to myself, to recognize when I need to just take a break, to next recognize that feelings and emotions that I'm not comfortable are coming up. This is outcome. But the process is to squash negative thought, to recognize that this is going to help me. That is the process. The process is when you wake up, you're grateful. When you go to bed, you're grateful. Your mind can be trained quickly and rapidly through repetition of always having good thoughts, even on your worst day. Something's going right. Not everything could have been that bad that day. Impossible, right? Because just surviving alone is a good thing that happened in a day, right? So you can never say, I've had the worst day ever if you're still alive. So one thinking process can create an emotion that can wreck the entire day. Then we carry it, then we stew on it, right? So we're going to get into, for the rest of it today, I'm going to have I always say this, Fridays I think are the best, because when I was talking to Norma last night, and I was like, I got to get ready for my show in the morning. And I did in a way, but I did it on my phone and I put out some notes, right? But then I get up 20 minutes before all of this and I can only write down so many things. So I'm going to get this board really fixed up. So a simple tool that I use that changed my thinking in a lot of ways, that still helped me have an awareness of what's tracking it, that I use is I have like, when I'm writing it down, I'm going to try to explain it the best that I can, because it's something I use, but I've never really taught it to anybody. But I kind of use kind of like this three-way tool that I have. And so when I feel stressed, angry, or like giving up, first I just notice it. Just notice it and realize where it comes from. That's the first step. So when you're upset, angry, frustrated, where did that come from? This is important because recognizing the source and being aware of the source is the only way you're going to fix anything, right? Water could be leaking in the very corner of your house and be seeping down a rafter over and coming out by the front door, right? So that doesn't mean we're going to take out that ceiling. We're going to find the source of where the water's coming in. See, these are these energy leaks in our life and a lot of things where we just can't identify because problems travel the path of least resistance, and they get right into your fucking head, start screwing you up. So when you feel stressed, angry, or like giving up, and you notice it, you can say, what am I thinking right now? Just what am I just thinking right now? When we get into these processes of living, what am I thinking right now? And it gives you your power back when you recognize it, even if you can't identify it yet. You're starting to gain back power, asking questions to your thought pattern. That's taking the power and harnessing the power of your life and using your mind. And now put those thoughts into words. You're going to recognize it, you're going to ask it a question, and now you're going to put it into words. So you can carry on and take back control. And are you thinking I always mess stuff up? This is because of me, because I messed it up? And if you say that, realize no thought is a fact. That's messed up in our brains. No thought that we have in our life is a fact. They're just these sentences in your mind. And when you name them, you create a little space. So what you're going to do is you're going to choose a different thought and action. So the next thought's more helpful and true. So from I always mess things up to sometimes I mess up, but I'm learning how to improve. So this doesn't happen again. This is too hard for me. This is hard, but I can take one step at a time. Those are thought patterns that you recognize. And if you didn't hear them, from I always mess things up, something that we would say to ourselves in a personal conversation. Instead of I always mess things up, sometimes I mess up, but I'm learning and improving. This is helping getting you closer and closer when you're asking questions to where the problem is, where the source of the problem is. This is too hard for me. This is too hard. Instead of this is too hard for me, this is too hard, but I can take one step. So when you're doing that, and you'll start recognizing sometimes where some thoughts that leak into our mind and they're repetitive every day, whether we realize it or not, our mind just likes to be on this riddle all day, doing the same thing, having the same emotions, doing everything. Then once in a while, it reminds you you're hungry and you eat. And then you have to go to sleep. And you're doing all of these things repetitively, right? So what's one helpful thought you often have? And what's one unhelpful thought you often have? So frequently we have the same unhelpful thought during the day, whether we know it or not, or recognize it or not. And then sometimes during the day we have a helpful one, right? So what are some of yours, and how can you turn it into a more helpful and using the method I just described? You know, just write some of that down. Could you use the method of noticing and choosing a better thought and action, realizing that the process that you need is to recognize it before it takes control of you for the day? Turning thought goals and mental goals is all about a pattern that's going to carry on and become a routine in your life. So a 1 week thinking goal for the next 7 days. I want you to do a thinking goal. And are you willing to try this? Are you willing to give it a shot for 7 days? So I'm going to just give you a little bit of go on this. So for the next 7 days, anytime, instead of I can't do it yet. I won't do it yet. That's it. We're going to just change some words. You can just write them down. Each night, write down one thing that went well. That's it. When you make a mistake, say, it's all right. I can try again. I'm just learning, right? And that's mentally. So you're going to write something down that you're grateful for at night that went right. Instead of I will try, say I will. And when you make a mistake, say it's okay. And realize that our mistakes sometimes are breadcrumbs that just lead you to doing things right. And then if you write one sentence try to write one sentence that would be like, in the next 7 days, I would like to what? And then read it every day. That the blank's left for you. Just starting with, for the next 7 days, I will train my mind to what? What is it? Man, that's a great prompt. If you have your journal, if you're a tab journaler, there's all this kind of journaling. I wasn't bring something up, but your thoughts and your goals, your repetitive thoughts that you change. You could have tabs or several different journals that you put in there. But the I will train my mind to blank is good for your tab on your thoughts and ideas. What you're becoming. What am I becoming in my thoughts and your tabs? And if you're not new to in here, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, but everything that I talk about is based on journaling. It's based on mirroring your thoughts on paper so you can see and get results to make your life easier just through journaling. And watching me is free. So you might finish with something like your night with realizing that your life's built out of your actions, right? And your actions are driven by your thoughts. So when you work on your goals, don't just ask, what do I want to achieve? Ask, how do I want to think? That's what we're working on today. The goal of how do we want to think? And if you change the way of thinking, then you're changing your whole life. It begins the change of changing your whole life, just in the way you think. So your goals don't have to be materialistic. I need this car. I need these clothes. I need this. And when I that's pushing it into the future. When I get money, everything's going to be great. When this car's old, I'm going to get the best car. That is throwing. That's not manifesting. That's throwing everything in front of you. You're just running on a, what do they call, a little wheel that the mouse runs on. You don't want to be on a little spinning wheel, right? You want to manifest. Right now, I'm grateful and I have gratitude in my life right now, and I had it yesterday. So when we're asking ourselves on a daily basis, when we praise what went right yesterday, talking about our past and indulging and reliving what went right in our past, then we bring gratitude into our present. Who wakes up and says, I'm just going to have a better day next week. Everything's going to be great for me next month. I can't wait till next year because this is going to be great. It's now. It's being mindful. It's in the now. It's having it now. Having it now means I'm going to track what went right last week, what went right last month. If you've never done this, then it might be time to sit down at a table and what's gone right for you since January 1. And what could you have done differently in your reaction where you might things went wrong, but they only went wrong because of what you thought. Find and notice where you might have went wrong in there, right? This isn't all about blame. This is personal. This is about changing our mental habits. When we're changing our mental habits, we're changing our daily life and we're finding peace. You're not going to find peace at your job today. You're not going to find peace in your family today. You're not going to find peace watching the news. Peace is something you wake up with and you take with you. It's something that you earn for yourself that comes from within. That's where it comes from. Everything else is either effort, lack of effort, or you just don't give a fuck. That's everything else. Blaming it on others, you can't. Because we can't let triggers and other people take it away. So when you work on your goals, don't ask, what do I want to achieve? Ask yourself, how is this going to make me feel? How do I want to think in life? How am I going to be peaceful with myself knowing that I put in the effort? Know that giving yourself the permission to take charge of your mind and your life, watching out and being aware of where the problem occurs, of where the source of your lack of energy might come from. Or maybe you just weren't shown how to go about a good process of thinking. I wasn't. A lot of mine was through self-discovery, and yours can be too. So the three types we're talking about today is the outcome of what I want to have, which we want to have control of our mind, the process of what I want to do this, and that is being mindful and aware of our thoughts and how we treat ourselves, right? That's going to be our process. And then our thinking of how do I want to think? How do you want to think? Wouldn't it be great to think of all the good things so you recognize the good things? And I'm not talking about being delusionally happy all the time. I'm talking about knowing that our thoughts create emotions, right? They help us with our actions, and being aware and having kind thoughts of others and ourselves, having forgiveness in our life, having prayer in our life, having spirituality in our life, anything that you feel is bigger than you, having that, respecting other people's perspective in life, allowing others to live their life the way that they want to. Because that, remember, is making them happy. You don't want interruption, so don't go judge anybody else. It's not your job. And when you're spending too much time on what others have and what this person have and they're getting and life's unfair, man, you are letting go of your own authentic life. Everybody else's life is taken, live yours. Don't worry about anybody else. Live your beauty life. We're all created the same. We're not casually just here. We are inspired by a thought and some love. We're going somewhere better. And in the meantime, have peace with that. So let's talk about some examples of our thinking goals. I've got a couple pages of notes still left. And for Friday, I'm going to have it down a little more. But let's just go through the rest of my notes for fun. So I got down some examples of our thinking goals. When I fail, I'm going to ask, what can I learn? So when we fail, if you're a salesperson and you fail at selling something, probably on your first day, you probably didn't sell anything. But then you start to gather little points and tips. You know, in my life, I've known good car salesmen, construction salesmen, hotel salesmen, all kinds of people, and they have pointers. They know what to point out. And the same techniques that you have in your job, think of what your job is. And if you're a skilled worker or anything, there's points that you know. And the technique that's got you there and the process that got there, the same process that we can use to change our thinking. You can look at the best brick mason in the world, but his first job isn't the one he's doing today. They looked much different. We learned pointers. We sharpened our mental skills, to sharpen our lives, right? So this thinking goal of what we're going to think, what we're talking about, there's not much to read here, right? It's how you see the change you want to make. Life is too short not to be yourself. Thoughts create feelings. And that was an example. Lose 10 pounds is probably more like 40 I need to lose. That's okay. So, example of our thinking goals, going right back into these examples of our thinking goals, right? When I fail, what can I learn? Okay? I talk to myself like a friend, not an enemy. This is really important. You know, sometimes we get news. Sometimes things change. And all of a sudden, we're beat ourselves up. It's because of me or something I did because this changed. It's because of me or something I did that this is delayed. It's because of me or something I did that this person didn't come by today. Everybody's living their own life, first of all. And not everything is surrounded by you. So you have to be kind to yourself. If you lose friends, you lose time, something goes away in your life, it most likely doesn't have much to do with you. It's just that sometimes things move on. So you can't let it take away your peace, your present, your moment. Life is way too freaking short to play games in your head, and your mind's going to do it to you. You don't do it on purpose. You can't help it. So looking for progress, not perfection. That's my problem. I'm always looking for perfection. Then I like to bitch about it. If there's a bitching contest somewhere in the world, I would definitely take first place. So write down the goal you already have, the one we were talking about earlier. Just write it down and now add one process to it, right? So I want you to notice what you're thinking when you think about when I say your goals. When I say goals, what are you thinking about? When I say to try to change a thought process in your life, you already know which one is it. You got to tell me which one is it. What thought process do you want to change? What part of your life do you wake up? When do you feel doom? When do you feel overwhelmed? When are you allowing your mind to take away your inner peace? Some things scrambled up down here is okay. You're human. And you can take control of it by being grateful. Just being grateful. Just every day, being grateful. And remember, you are your only audience. See, so it's not like people know. It's not like you have a reader on your head. Right now, I'm anxious. Right now, I don't like you. Right now, I don't like what I see. Right now, I hate the weather. Right now, I can't stand this time of year. Run some thoughts that this is part of my life. I have control of it. It's not going to take away my peace. Bring yourself to that special place. And that special place is within your heart. Once you get too out there and involve too much chaos in your life, it's not easy to manage and to keep a good mindset. So don't just set goals for like what you want to achieve. What you want to do is set goals that are going to help you think better, that are going to help you live better. Setting those types of goals. And there's all kinds of material out there when you look up setting goals, this and that. You got everything in life, regardless of what any of it says, I'm going to tell you, it just starts here, And if you want to investigate something, investigate 20% to get the 80%. Don't overindulge in things and get 100% of something that is said to turn it into a piddly squat. So that 80-20, that's the way that sometimes I read a book. I'm going to get 20% of information. If I'm going to read instructions, 20% of it. If I need to go back for some, because the 20% is going to give you the 80%. And when we're dealing in our lives and we're dealing with our thoughts, we're dealing with our feelings and our emotions, these are big things because this is what we carry into the next day, right? We get to wash our laundry and rewear it. We get to wash our hat, brush our teeth, and this and that, but the mind remains. And what we're feeding it and what we're putting it in there, it has to be on a course that makes us happy. Wouldn't you agree that you would rather live a peaceful life versus a scattered life? Wouldn't you rather choose peace over chaos? Wouldn't you choose yourself over somebody else? Do you want to have your mind thinking of problems, or do you want your mind to be celebrating the solutions that you came up with? Would you like to systematically evaluate your life that purges out the bad and recognizes the good? This is all done through journaling and through your mental thought. So week 3 of being your authentic self, that's what it's about. And it's going to be better even on Friday. It's about you processing your life and taking control of it through your mental thought, not beating yourself up, treating yourself, practicing gratitude every day. When you wake up, it's going to be a good day. I'm going to make the best of my day no matter what. Giving your mind a smile, not worrying about people, not being afraid of people, and not being intimidated by the narcissists out there. Unfortunately, people are managed by people with low self-esteem that try to make you feel like you're not good enough. But it's you that takes that information. Remember the source of it. There's going to be leaks out there. There's going to be drops of rain on sunny days. And remember how minute that is when you have control over your mental thinking today, over your mental self. So to take action, we need to first be aware of where the leak is coming from. You remember some of the things that we've talked about here in this little course and study, our 3-week course, our 8-week, our 10-week course. It's serious stuff. And this is stuff that helps me, and I wanted to help you. But, when you make mistakes, learn from them. Know that you can learn from them. You're here to make mistakes. You were born making mistakes, falling down, throwing up, pooping your pants, all kinds of things, right? So we're going to be just making mistakes all the time. So, if you feel you overreact, then maybe you're going to you're going to be new to things, but we can't, when we're constantly journaling and we're thinking about our thinking process, you're never going to change what you don't notice. And the only way that you're going to notice what needs to be changed is through mental action, not asking somebody else, not watching yourself on camera. You're going to have to realize what actions you are doing and recognize them to fix them. You can do this through self-reflection and journaling and making goals that are important to you and putting those goals into processes that happen. When I wake up, you're going to wake up, right? What are you grateful for? Before you go to bed, what went right? During the middle of the day, look up a joke, something that's lighthearted, that gives yourself a giggle, and realize that it's going to be a sunny day every day in your mind when you do this process. When you do this process. And this process, you get the benefit of it, right? When you set a goal that you're going to change your mind and you're going to live a life of harmony, you're the one that gets to live it. You do. So, the war that's in your head, you won it. Once you realize that, you've already won the war. There is no more war. You're going to have a truce. You're going to tell your mind that you're in charge. Stop playing games on me. Start telling yourself the truth. Realize the good person that you are. Realize that you've always had it and that your mind's tricked you. And that you've been carried by your spiritual beliefs and you've been carried by the prayers that are sent for you in your life. Change everything that you think isn't good about your mental thought. You know what it is. You know what you're thinking. There's people that trigger it. There's actions that trigger it. But why? Remember, we're going to recognize those triggers. We're talking about them last week. Self-reflection, observe, self-talk, consider your reactions, seek feedback, question your beliefs, notice patterns over time. Noticing patterns over time. I mean, this is what is awesome. We are studying, Clem, goals for thought. It's a 10-week course. I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. And I would like anybody that wants a great life, and I know no one's going to say, I don't want one of those, to join us. And if you miss it on my profile, you can click on Linktree and watch the whole series on YouTube. So what's your future goal? Is to intentionally run your mind in a good way. You're in high school, then you can watch it on YouTube. That's awesome. I hope you have a good day. Thanks for coming in here. I want everybody to have a good day. And I just want you to know that none of this is too hard to do. It all just has to do with thinking and writing and having good skills. And no matter what your age is or who you are, you deserve the best life ever. And I want you to understand that peace comes from within you. You leave home with it, right? You leave the grocery store with it. You go to work with it. Peace, right? Make that truce. End the war in your head. It's nobody's fault but your own, the way you're thinking and feeling. And you can change that. And I know for some of you that sounds hard. You can always reach out to me. And if you're just really having a hard time, reach out to a professional. There's nothing wrong with that. I've had that in my life. And I'm glad I made your day. And I'm glad I've made a lot of people's days. But everybody just have a fabulous day. And it's right up here where you're going to have it. See you on Friday. Promise this board will have some good stuff on it. And have a great day. And you know what? 1 hour wasn't enough. So I want you to continue and just repetitively think of one thing that resonated with you today and think about why it did. I'll see you Friday morning, 8 a.m. 7 Eastern. Don't worry.